When my sister mocked my 99 request, she discovered my 2.8 million secret, a life-changing twist. In the small Midwestern town of Maplewood, the aroma of freshly baked pastries wafted through the air as Sarah stood behind the counter of Sweet Serenity Bakery. For years, she had poured her heart into this place, but today felt particularly heavy. With bills piling high and the weight of single motherhood pressing down on her, Sarah felt suffocated. Just yesterday, while rummaging through her fridge, she discovered the last container of milk had gone sour. In her heart, the sourness mirrored her financial struggles. This morning, she clenched her fists, her heart racing with anxiety as she reluctantly dialed her sister Melissa's number for the first time in months. "Can I please borrow 99? She barely whispered, her voice thick with desperation, yet hopeful for an answer that could stave off the mounting dread. To her shock, Melissa laughed, a cold, shrill sound that cut deeper than a knife. 99? Really, Sarah? With your bakery barely scraping by? Maybe focus on paying your bills instead." The laughter echoed in Sarah's mind, mixing with her self-doubt like a bitter frosting on a ruined cake. Melissa, with her designer clothes and lavish lifestyle, had always been the golden child, while Sarah remained in the shadows, a wasp buzzing at the fringes of Melissa's glamorous hive, but no one knew the fire that burned inside Sarah. Each morning, she woke before dawn, kneading dough and perfecting recipes while her children still slept. She thought of the proud heritage of family values her father had imparted before his untimely passing, instilling in her a desire to overcome adversity. Little did they know, her father's savings had blossomed into a 2.8 million investment portfolio, kept hidden away from prying eyes. But now, as their family struggled with strained finances, she eyed the community fair looming over Maplewood like a storm cloud, hoping it would ease her burdens but fearing, also, its potential for disaster. As the annual Founders' Day festival approached, she busied herself baking cake after cake, thrill and anxiety coursing through her veins. The festival was not just another day, it was a showcase of hope, of small-town dreams manifesting into a tapestry of shared memories. People gathered for bake sales, family picnics, and laughter, but this time, Sarah felt an impending storm. Her heart raced as whispers about her secret began circulating, juiced up by the clamor of the festivities. Just as she stepped in front of the townsfolk, her prized cake in hand, she caught Melissa's eye, glimmering with disdain. Before she could even speak, the townsfolk murmured, "Did you hear? Sarah's richer than she lets on." The words clawed at her, pulling Sarah into an emotional whirlpool. The laughter that had brought her down earlier echoed back in her ears, stirring something deeper within. Could she still protect the bond with her sister while the truth threatened to unravel everything? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah locked eyes with Melissa, the silence hanging heavy between them like a pendulum poised to swing. Would resentment over wealth and envy sever their sisterly bond? The crowd thickened, breaths held in anticipation, as the reality of their lives hung delicately in the air. Would family ties withstand the revelations of status? As Sarah stood at this precipice of truth and fear, she felt an awakening within her, a push to claim her narrative at last. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she let the moment slip away, swallowed by doubt? The clock ticked on, and both sisters' gazes were charged with unspoken promises and the pangs of rivalry, leaving everyone yearning for resolution. The tension in the air was palpable. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as the murmurs of the crowd washed over her like a cold wave. She could hear snippets of conversation, fingers pointed and eyes widened, all focused on this unexpected reveal of her so-called wealth. Her mind raced. Would she dare speak the truth? What would that mean for her relationship with Melissa? "Sarah? Are you just going to stand there?" Melissa's voice sliced through the noise, sharp and biting. "Are you truly going to let these people believe you're something you're not?" The crowd shifted, curiosity sparking interest and concern. It was as if they were watching a delicate dance, waiting for one of the sisters to take the first step. With a deep breath, Sarah steadied herself, her fingers tightening around the cake plate. The sweet scent of vanilla and raspberry filled her senses, but it did little to calm her racing heart. "I may have money," she began, her voice shaky but resolute. "But wealth isn't just about numbers. It's about love, community, and how we uplift one another." Laughter bubbled from the crowd, but not in the way Melissa had hoped. There was a nervous energy, a flicker of curiosity, a hunger for authenticity rather than materialism. People leaned in closer, eager to hear more. "Let me tell you something," Sarah straightened her back, finding strength in her fear. "For years, I've struggled to make ends meet for my kids. Everyone knows me as the girl with the bakery, but what they don't know is that I have a treasure and inheritance from my father." She paused, gauging the weight of her words. "But it doesn't mean I have the lifestyle my sister chooses to flaunt. I choose to serve my community first." Melissa's expression darkened, eyes narrowing as she processed Sarah's words. "So you think you can win over the crowd by playing the martyr? This is just sad, Sarah. Is it sad to care?" Sarah shot back, her voice rising. Uncertainty and courage surged through her, propelling her forward. "I want to use my father's legacy to build something meaningful, not let it be the center of a competition with you." The atmosphere shifted. Some in the crowd nodded along, empathy washing over them. Others exchanged glances, realizing the truth in Sarah's words. She fought against the facade she had lived beneath for too long, feeling lighter yet heavier all at once, as if she had cracked the surface of an invisible barrier. But before she could bask in the moment of clarity, Melissa interrupted, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her face. "So, what are you going to do? Just wave your wealth like a flag? Show us how much better you are?" "No," Sarah replied, her tone softer now. "What I want is to create a place where people feel safe, where we can uplift each other. This bakery is more than just a job for me, it's a home." She glanced at the crowd, sincerity pouring out of her heart. "What if I could bring life back to this town through it?" The thought was a spark, igniting possibilities she hadn't yet considered. Among the audience, she spotted familiar faces, friends, neighbors, and patrons who had always stood by her. They were the reason she fought, the heart that kept beating in her dreams. As the final notes of tension hung between the sisters, Sarah sensed the tides shifting in her favor. But the storm was far from over. Melissa's doubt lingered thickly in the air. Without warning, she stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Then let us see if you really can do that without drowning in your own dreams," Melissa challenged, her tone cool and biting. "The festival is just beginning. The question is, what will you do next?" In that moment, Sarah realized that the battle for respect and love wouldn't end just because she had spoken her truth. There were deeper wounds to address, and she felt the stakes rise higher than ever. Would she rise to the challenge laid before her and transform her dreams into reality, or would she simply float in the waves of fear? And in the backdrop of the festival filled with laughter and bright colors, Sarah stood at the daunting edge of her own aspirations, ready to take the plunge. But the storm clouds had only begun to gather. What awaited her on that unpredictable horizon? Sarah stood frozen for a moment, her heart racing as she felt all eyes on her. The sweet aroma of her bakery wafted around her, but it felt less like a comforting blanket and more like a looming reminder of the weight her words were carrying. There was a strange power coursing through her now, tugging her to take the leap forward. "What's it going to be, Sarah?" Melissa's voice cut through the air again, sharper this time. "You've shown your hand, but can you actually play this game?" The crowd murmured, a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Sarah's mind whirled. She could see the faces, many nodding along with her words, but could she trust them? Could she trust herself? The question simmered within her like a pot on the verge of boiling over. In that crowded space, Sarah felt her feelings congeal into something tangible, a promise to herself, a drive to change not just her own life, but the lives of those around her. She cleared her throat and took a small step forward. "I'm not here to compete with my sister over who's better or richer." She took a breath, her voice gaining strength. What I want is to create a community, one that supports our kids and strengthens our ties, especially here in this town. A ripple of agreement danced through the crowd. A few voices called out supportive remarks. That's what we need. Someone shouted, prompting a wave of murmurs of affirmation. Melissa scoffed, her confidence faltering. And how do you plan to achieve that, Just from baking cupcakes? Her laugh was meant to be derisive, but Sarah saw something in her sister's eyes, a flash of fear. Yes, she responded, locking eyes with Melissa. Baking cupcakes can change the world. It can bring people together. We can use my father's inheritance to revive this place. And trust me, I won't drown in dreams. I'm going to swim with purpose. The crowd rumbled again, their applause growing louder, echoing in the air and building Sarah's adrenaline. With every cheer, she felt a flicker of warmth and hope ignite inside her. But Melissa stepped back, processing what she heard, the bitterness fading slightly. You really think you can just waltz in? And she paused, looking around the gathering crowd, struggling to maintain her bravado. You really think they will follow you? Yes, I do, Sarah shot back, her heart pounding but unyielding. Because I will show them that this place can thrive again. We just need to believe in one another. Both sisters stared at each other across the space, the invisible line between them drawn sharper by the crowd watching intently. For a moment, Sarah saw her sister deflate, the confidence she flaunted beginning to wane. Then, just as it seemed Melissa was about to respond, a child's voice rang out, sweet and innocent. My mom loves your cupcakes, Sarah. She says they make her happy. It caught everyone by surprise, that genuine connection of a child drawing smiles from the crowd. Sarah's heart leapt. That simple endorsement held more weight than anything she could say. The electric atmosphere began to galvanize support, reminding her of why she started baking in the first place. Melissa remained silent, her mouth a tight line, but Sarah saw something flicker in her eyes, a hint of realization, perhaps even regret. As the crowd grew louder in their support, Sarah felt a sense of solidarity emerge. But even with this newfound strength, uncertainty still loomed. Was she truly ready to take on more than just her bakery, a whole community's future? The festival around them pulsed with life and potential, but as Sarah glanced at Melissa, she realized this wasn't just about the town or her dreams. It was personal, touching a deep and fragile bond that they had, sisters who loved and challenged each other fiercely but could be torn apart just as easily. What if this was an opportunity for healing, not just for her, but for Melissa too? And as the final notes of excitement rippled through the crowd, Sarah prepared herself for a journey that could change everything, unaware that it would lead them both to a life-altering turning point. What secrets would be uncovered as they faced off against their deepest fears? The festival had just begun. The crowd's cheers faded to a gentle buzz as Sarah stood before them, her heart still racing. Each face reflected a storm of emotions: curiosity, hope, and disbelief mingled together. She could feel the weight of their expectations pressing against her. The warmth from the festival lights flickered like her own wavering confidence, but she straightened her posture, channeling the support she had just ignited in the room. Melissa's silence weighed heavily in the air. The confidence that had radiated from her sister moments before started to crumble, and Sarah could see the internal struggle written across her face. It was like watching a balloon slowly deflate. Could they really mend their relationship here, amid cupcakes and promises? All right, then, Melissa finally spoke, her voice quieter but still dripping with sarcasm. Let us say you're right. What do you need from me? Sarah's breath caught. She had anticipated a fight, a full-scale sister showdown, not this unexpected olive branch. I need your help, Sarah confessed, surprising even herself with the admission. I can't do this alone. You have connections in the community, support people trust you. Together, we could turn this place around. Melissa raised an eyebrow, skepticism written clearly on her face. And what do I get out of it? The question hung in the air. The silence that followed felt crushing. Sarah's mind raced to find the right words, the right lure to entice her sister. What if we created something truly special? A place that turns this town around, one cupcake at a time. We could restore our family name, no more comparisons, just hope. A flicker of something softer crossed Melissa's features. She was weighing Sarah's words, but Sarah could also see the remnants of their shared childhood and dreams haunting her sister. Were they dance partners in this endeavor or forever opponents? In the distance, laughter erupted from families enjoying the festival. A child skipped by, face painted brightly, holding sticky hands filled with candy. Sarah's heart ached. This was for them, these children who deserved a vibrant future in a thriving community. Fine, Melissa replied, an air of reluctant acceptance in her tone. But don't think for a second I'll go easy on you just because we're family. If you want to do this, we do it my way. Sarah nodded, a small smile creeping onto her face. The agreement felt like a small victory, a thread of hope woven into their fragile bond. But as she felt the warmth of support from the crowd growing, a knot of anxiety clutched at her stomach. Was she truly prepared to partner with someone who had been her greatest rival for so long? Would this vulnerable moment lead to a shared future or deepen the divide between them? Just then, a voice broke through her thoughts. Sarah. Can I have a cupcake? It was the same child from earlier, bright-eyed and innocent, and he pointed toward the table where her freshly baked treats waited. Yes. Of course. Sarah answered, her heart swelling. She turned toward the table, her hands shaking with a mix of excitement and fear. Melissa was only a few steps behind. We need a plan, she urged, urgency in her tone. And it starts now. As Sarah handed the boy a cupcake, savoring the pure joy in his expression, she couldn't shake the sense of impending change. This was just the beginning. Unbeknownst to either sister, the community, and perhaps destiny had a surprise in store for them. What if, in their quest for togetherness, they stumbled upon secrets buried deep, ones that could redefine everything they believed about family and themselves? The festival felt alive, buzzing with possibilities they'd yet to uncover, a world waiting for their next move. Okay, let us get down to it, Sarah said, brushing off the lingering uncertainty. She stepped away from the table and motioned for Melissa to follow. The air was thick with laughter and excitement, tantalizing aromas wafted from various food stalls, almost intoxicating. Sarah felt her spirit lift just a little. She needed this momentum. They found a quiet corner, just out of earshot from the bustling crowd. Sarah took a deep breath, reminding herself to stay focused. What do we want to achieve by the end of the festival? She asked, her tone firm but inviting. First off, Melissa replied, a hint of calculated strategy glimmering in her eyes, we need a plan to get everyone excited about this cupcake venture. We need to become the talk of the festival. We could start handing out samples, Sarah suggested. If people taste what we can create together, they'll want more. Melissa nodded thoughtfully. Sure, but let us up the ante. Let us concoct a cupcake that represents our town, a flavor that's local, unique. Something people can't resist. Sarah's heart raced with the spontaneity of the idea. How about a blueberry-lemon fusion? Fresh blueberries from Thomas Farms mixed with tangy lemon frosting? It'll scream summer. Fine, I'll source the blueberries, said Melissa with a determined smile. But we need to do more than just cupcakes. We need an event, a way to pull everyone in. As they brainstormed, magic began to breathe life into their tentative partnership. Ideas spiraled, and laughter broke out amid the planning. Sarah felt a bond forming, ancient and comforting, buried under grass stains and secrets from their childhood, and then, just as they were getting lost in their excitement, an elderly woman approached them. She had a gentle smile and twinkling eyes. Excuse me, dear girls. I couldn't help but overhear you talking about cupcakes. Why, yes. Sarah replied, a little hesitant. Would you like to try one? I would love to, for free. Of course. Melissa interjected before Sarah could respond. You can have a taste, and we would love to hear what you think. With the old woman seated at a nearby picnic table, the sisters hurried back to their stand to prepare a fresh batch. Each scoop of batter, each swirl of frosting felt like a small victory. With every cupcake that came together, they tackled the towering wall of expectations. The first eager customers began to line up, the scent of freshly baked cupcakes drawing them like moths to a flame. Sarah felt a spark of joy ignite in her chest, the kind she hadn't felt in years. But amidst the sweetness of their success, Melissa leaned over and whispered, "You know, I can't help but think we might need to reach out to a few more people around town. With an extra influence, we could do so much more. Have you thought about the investors?" Sarah's heart sank at the mention of investors. It was a touchy subject, one that brought back the weight of family expectations, especially their parents. "I don't know, Mel. It feels like rushing into something we're just beginning to understand. I'm not saying we have to dive in deep right now. Just feel it out. See what options are out there. You know how parents control everything," Melissa gently urged, her brow creased with consideration. As the crowd grew, so did the chatter around investment, business plans, and how they could turn their sisterly partnership into a community initiative. But with every cupcake handed over, every smile that danced on each customer's face, Sarah was reminded of their fragile beginning. In that moment, a shriek from the crowd startled them. "Sarah! Melissa! Come quick!" It was the boy with the painted face. "You won't believe what's happening." They exchanged nervous glances. Was everything about to change even more drastically? Curiosity piqued, they quickly rushed toward the noise. What awaited them could either draw them closer or tear them apart once again. As they squeezed through the throngs of festival goers, the noise escalated, pulling Sarah and Melissa into an unexpected whirlwind. Children dashed past them, their faces gleaming with excitement, while the smell of fried dough and spices swirled around them. A sense of urgency tugged at both sisters, an invisible thread that pushed them toward the source of the commotion. Clarifying shouts and laughter vanished into the buzz of the fair as they reached the center of the madness. The boy with the painted face stood atop a table, pointing at a small clearing where people had gathered. "Look! Look at that!" he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with mischief. The sisters stood on their toes, peering over the crowd, eager to see what was unfolding. In the center, a lively performance was taking place. A local acrobat was flipping and twisting through the air, while a juggler sent bright-colored balls spiraling into the sky. It captivated the crowd, laughter bubbling up like champagne. But just beyond that, something remarkable caught Sarah's attention. Buried among the spectators, a particular group held thick, glossy flyers that proclaimed the news of a big investor arriving at the festival, a food magnate known for funding promising local businesses. "That's it. We need to talk to him," Melissa exclaimed, her face alight with ambition. "This is our chance." "Well, hold on," what if Sarah started, but the pulse of excitement was too strong. Melissa had already turned away, pushing through the crowd with a determination that made Sarah's heart race for a different reason. She loved the energy, but a knot twisted in her stomach at the thought of mingling with seasoned businessmen who might see their fledgling venture as a risk. "Let us find the flyer. We can at least learn more about him," Melissa called over her shoulder. Sarah forced herself to maintain the pace, feeling torn between her sister's eagerness and her own reservations. As they neared the epicenter, the intentions of the crowd grew clearer. An elder man with a rugged face, dressed in jeans and a flannel shirt, stood on a pedestal, addressing everyone with passion. "I'm looking for new ideas, fresh ventures that represent our community. If you're ready to speak up, step forward." He gestured broadly, inviting entrepreneurs and creators to present their dreams. Melissa's eyes sparkled. "Sarah, we can't let this pass. We need to introduce ourselves. We need to represent our cupcakes, our town." The idea of putting themselves out there rattled Sarah, like jumping into water that looked too deep. "Mel, it's just a talk. We haven't even solidified our concept yet." Before she could utter more objections, Melissa pushed her way through the last strand of eager listeners. "Imagine if we catch his interest." She shot back, darting toward the podium. As they reached the front, Sarah's insides coiled with apprehension. People were stepping up one by one and sharing their stories, each moment filled with tension and hope. She could practically feel the weight of her family's expectations bearing down on her. What if they failed? Melissa, sensing the hesitation in her sister, squeezed her hand tight. "We have to do this together." When their turn came, Sarah glanced at the expectant faces around them. The crowd parted slightly, creating a circle of hope as the man's gaze fell upon her. He held an intrigued expression, waiting. "Hi, my name is Melissa," her sister started, her voice steady. "And this is my sister, Sarah. We're excited to share our cupcake venture with you." The words flowed from Melissa's mouth, vibrant and warm. But Sarah felt like a shadow, moving behind her sister's confidence. She was lost in a flood of what-ifs and insecurities, fears swarming like bees in her mind. It wasn't until she glanced at their small stand, an island of possibility amid the chaos, that she realized the true stakes of this moment. As Melissa recounted their idea, a sudden thought ignited within Sarah. What if this really was the moment they could seize? Did she dare to let that small spark of hope light the way? As they finished their pitch, the man tilted his head thoughtfully, a hint of a smile playing on his lips, then he leaned in, and Sarah held her breath. "You two have something special here, but you may want to think bigger. Perhaps we should discuss some numbers." The buzz of the crowd faded, the world around them falling silent. This was it. The twist they hadn't anticipated. This could change everything. With a rush of exhilaration mixed with dread, uncertainty filled Sarah's heart. Were they prepared to step into the business world they'd only dreamed of? What was waiting beyond the conversation? Her life was on the verge of transforming. But as the man continued speaking, another shout echoed from the crowd. This time, it was a shrill voice that carried an urgency that cut through her thoughts like glass. "Sarah, you need to come back. It's about Mom and Dad." The world spun, and dread replaced the thrill. What now? Sarah turned to see a familiar face pushing through the gathering crowd. It was Jason, the boy from their old neighborhood. His expression was pale, panic flashing in his eyes. She felt her heart drop, a sudden weight pressing down on her chest. "What do you mean it's about Mom and Dad?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady, even as fear gripped her. They got into an accident. Mom's hurt," he stammered, glancing back as if someone might be following him. Melissa's tone shifted instantly. "What? Where are they? Is it serious?" Jason swallowed hard. "They're at the hospital. I came to find you. They need you both there." A wave of confusion washed over Sarah, battling with a rising tide of dread. Just moments ago, she had stood on the precipice of possibility, ready to embrace a future she could barely imagine. Now, with Jason's words, all that hope felt distant, fading away like smoke in the wind. "Our pitch, Melissa," Sarah whispered, her voice wavering. "What about our pitch?" "We'll figure it out," Melissa replied, already starting to turn toward the exit. "We can't leave them alone. We have to go." The urgency in her sister's voice snapped Sarah back to reality. As they made their way through the throng of fairgoers, the vibrant hues of celebration blurred into a shadow behind her. Every laugh, every cheer felt distant, an echo of a world that didn't seem to touch their own anymore. Once outside, they rushed to Jason's car, the scent of warm funnel cake still lingering in the air. With every mile they drove, the silence stretched between them like an invisible chasm. Sarah stared out the window, lost in a storm of anxiety. The hospital loomed ahead, a stark white tower against the backdrop of the fading festival light. When they pulled into the parking lot, her heart raced. Melissa jumped out first, but Sarah hesitated, clutching the edge of the seat. What if she began, fear creeping back into her thoughts? What if it's really bad? Melissa's worry-filled gaze met hers. "Then we'll be there for them. That's what matters now." Steeling herself, Sarah stepped out. They entered the hospital, the sterile scent of antiseptic hitting her as they approached the reception. The nurse didn't need to check a file. Her expression told them everything. "Your parents were in an accident. It's serious, but they're stable for now," she relayed, her words filled with an air of practiced compassion. "Can we see them?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The nurse nodded, guiding them down a long corridor. As they reached the door to their parents' room, Sarah paused. She heard murmurs through the door. "We won't know for sure until the doctors finish," But it may take time, a doctor's voice echoed. Melissa squeezed her hand. We've got this, together. Taking a deep breath, they opened the door and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, machines beeping rhythmically. Their father lay on the bed, unconscious but breathing. Their mother was sitting in a chair, a bandage across her forehead. Relief washed over Sarah to see her awake, albeit dazed. Sarah Melissa, their mom murmured, her voice raspy, yet imbued with warmth. I'm so glad you're here. Just then, the heaviness in Sarah's chest lifted slightly. They were here. Together. As they embraced their mom, her eyes fell on their stand in the festival, all their dreams tied to that pitch suddenly feeling distant. But within her chest, the possibilities didn't fade completely. Maybe this was only a detour, perhaps a different kind of start. Then, a sharp knock interrupted their moment. A man entered, suited and polished, the same food magnate they had sought just moments earlier. I heard about the accident. I'm here to help, he said, his presence commanding yet comforting. He turned to the sisters, eyes calculating. What were you planning to share? I think I might be interested. Sarah's heart thundered again, but this time, it felt different. The stakes were raised. Could they really be on the cusp of something beautiful amidst the chaos? Maybe we can talk, Sarah said, her voice steadier now. But Melissa looked at her, eyes blazing with disbelief. But what about Mom and Dad? Both things can exist, Sarah replied, a surge of determination replacing her earlier fear. We can fight for our family while pursuing our dreams. As they navigated this unexpected twist, Sarah realized something crucial. It wouldn't be about just business, but how their family could rise together in the face of adversity. And if they played their cards right, this could be the unlikely push they needed. But would it be enough to heal the scars left behind? Would they manage to balance it all while supporting each other through the trials ahead? With thoughts swirling and possibilities unfolding, they faced a brand new chapter, their lives intertwining in ways they could never have predicted. Would this day mark the beginning of both healing and hope? The hospital room felt more crowded now, the presence of the food magnate adding weight to the air. Sarah glanced at her mom, who managed a reassuring smile despite the bandage on her forehead. The sight grounded her, a reminder that just moments ago, they had been a family thrown into chaos. The man in the suit, Mr. Cartwright, shifted his gaze between the sisters. I understand your parents are in a difficult situation, he began, his tone smooth and almost comforting. But life doesn't stop because of accidents, does it? You two have an opportunity here. Melissa looked skeptical, her arms crossed, her protective instincts kicking in. How can you even think about business right now? They need us, not a pitch. But Sarah could feel the flicker of hope again, sparking in the depths of her anxiety. Mr. Cartwright, she interrupted, steadying her voice, we had plans, and we believed in them. Plans that could still happen if you want them to, he replied, unfazed. I get that family comes first. But this could be the break you need, something to keep your spirits up while you navigate this crisis. Sarah's heart raced. Would pursuing their dreams really bring some light into this dark moment? She exchanged a glance with Melissa, who seemed torn between anger and concern. Let us hear what he has to say, Sarah encouraged, surprising even herself with her conviction. The food magnate nodded, sensing his entry into a more respectful conversation. Tell me about your pitch. Melissa hesitated, biting her lip. It was just an idea, a food stall concept for festivals. Something we could call our own. That sounds promising. Food festivals are booming, especially post-pandemic. People are looking for comfort in food. What could be better than a unique family recipe? His eyes lit up, calculating. You're just the kind of fresh idea I'm looking for. Sarah felt the weight of his words. Her mind raced back to all the long nights spent brainstorming with Melissa over steaming pots of their family's signature chili and breadsticks. The laughter during taste tests. The way they made each other dream big. What if we could build something that we not only love but do it for them? Sarah blurted, her heart swelling. A way to honor Mom and Dad through our food? Mr. Cartwright grinned, as though he'd just received a winning lottery ticket. Now we're talking. But first, I need to know what sets your recipes apart. And as Sarah began to share their vision, she could see a shift in Melissa. The walls she had built around herself started to lower. Maybe it wasn't just about business, it was about joy and resilience too. But then, suddenly, a shriek cut through their bubble of hope. A nurse dashed by, urgent and out of breath, heading down the corridor. Sarah's chest constricted again. What's happening? She whispered, her heart pounding again, the anxiety returning. Melissa turned sharply, her face pale as she whispered back. I have a bad feeling. Did you see how she looked? Before they could process it all, a doctor approached, his expression strained. I need to speak to the family of the patients involved in the accident, he said, anxiety lacing his words. Sarah's stomach dropped. A million thoughts invaded her mind, questions swirling. Just when they had started to glimpse a way forward, hadn't they? As the doctor called them out, Sarah glanced back at Mr. Cartwright, who looked momentarily taken aback, but then regained his composure. I'm here for you, he promised. The uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed over Sarah like a storm cloud. Would this be another detour, or had they finally stepped onto the right path? She took a deep breath, feeling a sense of urgency deep within. They had to face what was coming, in family and in dreams. With that thought, she followed her sister and the doctor down the hall, toward an unknown that could change everything once again. What awaited them in that sterile, cold room? Would they find strength when they needed it the most? The stark brightness of the hallway seemed almost blinding as they followed the doctor. Sarah could feel the dread seeping in, each step dragging like lead. She gripped Melissa's arm, hoping to convey some semblance of strength as they walked side by side. The doctor's shoes echoed against the polished floor, amplifying the tense silence that enveloped them. Please, take a seat, the doctor instructed as they entered a small conference room adjacent to the main ward. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, a stark contrast to the warmth they had felt just moments ago with Mr. Cartwright. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, each beat resonating with dread and anticipation. The doctor took a deep breath, looking at them with an intensity that made Sarah's stomach whirl. Your parents, their condition is serious. We've done everything we can, but there are complications. Melissa gasped, her nails digging into Sarah's arm. Fear washed over them both as silence filled the air, heavy and suffocating. Sarah's mind raced, she didn't want to hear the words that were about to come next. Yet, the doctor continued, and with each word, the world around them seemed to fade into a blur. They are stable for now, but we need to discuss their prognosis. I don't want to sugarcoat this. For a moment, Sarah's vision blurred. Everything went fuzzy. The doctor's face, the room, even Melissa beside her. She felt like she was on the edge of a cliff, teetering dangerously close to falling. But then she remembered the smiles of her parents, the laughter that echoed from their kitchen, the warmth of family dinners. What does that mean? Sarah found her voice, trembling but resolved. What are their chances? There's a long road ahead, and it won't be easy, the doctor replied somberly. You need to prepare for the possibility of extensive rehabilitation. Or he paused, letting the weight of his words hang. Or something worse. Tears brimmed in Melissa's eyes, and Sarah held her sister tighter. They were inches away from losing everything they held dear. But in the midst of that turmoil, a defiant ember sparked within her, a flame of hope that hadn't died out. No. We won't lose them. We can fight. We can make sure they have all the support they need. The doctor nodded, his eyes softening at her outburst. You will need to be strong for them. They're going to lean on you more than ever. Suddenly, amidst the heaviness, Sarah remembered the prospect of their food stall. The dream they had nurtured, which now felt like a lifeline. Melissa, she whispered, her mind racing with possibilities. What if we turned this into something? Something powerful? Melissa looked up, her expression slowly shifting from fear to dawning realization. Are you saying we could use this? Yes. If we can channel our strength and our love for Mom and Dad into this business idea, we can keep their spirits up. It could be our way of fighting for them. For our family. The doctor smiled, intrigued by their determination. That's the spirit, sisters. Finding purpose can bring immense strength in tough times. As they left the room, Sarah felt something within her shift. She wanted to embody that strength, not just for herself or for Melissa but for their family. But in that moment of clarity, a chilling thought crept back. What if the plan didn't work? What if they failed? Would their parents fight for them the way they hoped? Sarah shook her head as she and Melissa stepped back into the hallway, determined to face whatever lay ahead. They had to try. They had to keep dreaming. As they rounded the corner, a familiar figure came into view. Mr. Cartwright. He stood with arms crossed, looking pensive, as if he sensed the weight of the situation. And suddenly, an idea flickered in Sarah's mind. Could he actually be the key to making their dream become a reality? "Let us talk business," she said quietly, her heart racing with a mixture of hope and fear. Would Mr. Cartwright see the potential in their vision just as they did? And could that be the catalyst they needed to help their family heal? Together, they walked over to him. But as Sarah opened her mouth to speak, a sharp ringing echoed from her pocket, marking the start of a new twist in their already complicated story. What awaited them next could change everything once again. As the ringing of Sarah's phone pierced through the air, time felt suspended. She glanced down, her heart pounding. Was it a call she had been eagerly waiting for? Or more bad news? With trembling fingers, she silenced it, taking a deep breath as the moment dissolved into a cluster of emotions. Mr. Cartwright watched her with an expectant gaze, the corner of his mouth tipped with curiosity. "You all right?" he asked, his voice low and steady. "Yeah, it's just a lot right now," Sarah replied, her voice steadied by determination. "We're going to fight for our family. We have to be there for our parents." She felt a spark of hope reigniting within her. It was not just about cupcakes or a business, this was about legacy. Melissa hooked her arm around Sarah's shoulders, a silent reinforcement of their sisterly bond. "And we want to bring this community together, maybe even host a charity event for Mom and Dad," she added, her tone shifting from one of fear to ambition. "We could showcase local businesses, and we could be at the center of it. Who wouldn't want to support a cause like this?" Mr. Cartwright nodded, the air of skepticism lifting as excitement replaced it. "Interesting. I've seen events like that before, and they do wonders for both local support and investment. Plus, community members love to rally behind something they believe in, something meaningful." Sarah's heart raced. "We could pitch the charity food stall and ask local businesses to get involved, each contributing a portion of their sales. The festival could extend throughout the summer, a beacon of hope in our town. It could bring everyone together while helping our family too." Mr. Cartwright straightened, impressed. "That's the kind of drive I'm looking for. I can get my team to partner with you on this. We might draw in other sponsors and philanthropists who care about this community. If you get the right connections, you could have your business up and running in no time." They hadn't just taken a step forward, they were racing towards a tangible future. The feeling surged through Sarah like a wave crashing down, a mix of trepidation and determination. Yes, they could do this. Whatever awaited them beyond the hospital room could be something far more significant, weaving their family and community together. "Well, what are we waiting for?" Melissa said, her voice brimming with resolve. "Let us go make some calls and set this in motion. We can't leave Mom and Dad waiting. They'll want to see us thrive." The sisters shared a glance, one of fierce determination. Together, they stepped back into the flood of anxieties and expectations, the vibrant festival buzzing just beyond the walls, now reframed with purpose. As they approached their parents' room once again, Sarah felt the echoes of the crowd surround her. Each joyful shout, every burst of laughter reminded her why they were doing this. And when they entered, their parents' warmth engulfed them. "Hey, we have news," Melissa announced, her voice steady and filled with hope. Their parents looked up, weariness lacing their expressions but love shining through. "What is it?" their mom asked, a soft smile breaking across her face. Together, Sarah said, her heart swelling with pride as she took a deep breath. We're going to create something incredible, for you, for our family, and for this town. We're going to host an event, a festival, highlighting local businesses. And we'll do it together. They shared their plans for the charitable venture, bursting at the seams with ideas and excitement. Each word from their mouths was wrapped in purpose, not just seeking financial backing but nurturing community ties. Their mom's eyes glimmered with tears of joy, while their dad's heart swelled with pride. You girls always found a way to do the impossible, he murmured, his voice a low rumble, but in the next moment, a nurse entered, her face brightening at the sight of the family together. I just heard about your plans. What a wonderful way to uplift morale around here. I'd love to help however I can. Encouragement and support continued to flow from every direction, igniting a fire in Sarah. The energy pulsating through them became a reminder that family was not just about blood, it was about resilience, dreams, and reaching out to lift each other when life threw them hurdles. As they focused on planning the event, the sisters found immense strength in sisterhood. They ventured into organizing, calling local bakeries and businesses, galvanizing volunteers. They transformed uncertainty into action, bonding over late-night planning sessions filled with laughter, purposeful discussions, and even a few minor arguments that stirred their competitive spirits. But stronger was the underlying love. The day of the event finally arrived. The sun shone brightly, as if the universe had conspired to illuminate their efforts. Banners fluttered in the gentle breeze. Stalls lined the streets, brought to life by the local community's spirit. Local musicians strummed familiar tunes, and the scent of fresh food filled the air. Sarah and Melissa beamed as they watched people come together, laughter echoing in symphony, and as they stood at their joint stall, cupcakes displayed in radiant shades of icing, Sarah couldn't help but think about how far they had come both in business and as sisters. They had turned their challenges into a tapestry of hope and love, defying fears and embracing possibilities. In that moment, amid the swirling sounds and smiling faces, Sarah glanced at Melissa. Look at all of this, she breathed, awe painting her voice. Yeah, Melissa replied, realizing their transformation was not merely tied to financial success, but to a deeper connection with their roots, their family, and the community that had raised them. Together, they laughed, shared secrets, and welcomed heartbreak, all while building a future where dreams could take flight. Sarah had chosen a path that could honor their parents' legacy through love, baked goods, and an enduring sisterhood that would forever tether them even amid chaos. As dusk settled, a vibrant glow surrounded the festival. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart full. This was just the beginning, a commitment to family, community, and the unyielding spirit of resilience, and with that realization, Sarah couldn't help but smile, knowing that not only would her parents be proud, but they'd also be there witnessing how love could conquer anything. As the bright lights shone around them, she leaned towards her sister, her voice resolute. Let us keep building. For them. For us. For Maplewood. This was their moment. Now, more than ever, they would stand together. Before you dive into your next adventure, listen up. You need to subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss exclusive stories like this. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread the word. Leave a comment below with your feelings about this finale. We want to hear from true fans like you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Your support means everything, and together, we can create even more incredible stories.